Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our virtual Mishnah Berurah shir. We're holding a Mishnah Berurah Chelik Beis, and Mirza Hashem, we will be learning today Daf Nun Daled Amid Beis. Before we begin the shir today, the Torah learning of the shir should stand as a chus for Refuah Shalema from Meir ben Chai Sarah, who is in need of Rachim Shamayim, and certainly the chus of limud Torah should protect those in Eretz Yisrael, and indeed, Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael B'chol Makom Shehem. So we are continuing to learn Hilchos Netillas Yadayim. We pick up today on Nun Daled Amud Aleph in middle of Sif Yud Beis, 2 lines off the bottom on Nun Daled Amud Aleph. So we had been discussing here in Sif Yud Beis various types of liquids or substances that may be used for Netillas Yadayim and things that may not be used for Netillas Yadayim. And now we move on the same theme. So 2 lines off the bottom in the middle of the line, right by the ice cut nun test for the Mishnah Berurah, says the Mechaber, Yesh mi sha'omer. There is one who says, and this is a Shitas Haravid, Yesh mi sha'omer, she'ein netilas mayim rishonim ela b'mayim belvad. The Shitas Haravid is that for mayim rishonim, when we wash our hands in preparation to be kaveh su'ud ala pas, what we call Netillas Yadayim, otherwise known as Mayim Rishonim, in contrast to Mayim Achronim, that we wash after the Suda, before benching. So the Shitas Haravid is that Mayim Rishonim must be washed with water, nothing else. Now, let's take a quick look here at the Mishnah Berurah Ois Katan Nun Tes to understand what the Ravid means. Yesh mi she'omer, says the Chavetz Chaim, Loikai Areish Hasif, when the Mechaber brings down this Shitas Haravid, and he says that Mayim Rishonim must be done with Mayim and only Mayim, he's not coming la'afuke, he's not coming to take away from what the Mechaber wrote in the beginning of Sif Yud Beis. The Ravid is not arguing on the opening halacha of Sif Yud Beis that sheleg, snow, barad, hail, gefar, sleet, glid, ice. He's not arguing and saying that those things cannot be used for Mayim Rishonim. No, those, the Ravid agrees, could be used for Mayim Rishonim, kishariskan, if you grind them up so that they're liquefied. Why? Because those are Mayim. So when the Ravid says that you need to wash Mayim Rishonim with Mayim, those items would be included. So what is the Ravid coming to be memayit? What's the Ravid coming to exclude? Explains the Mishnah Berurah again. He says, like Kai Areish Hasif, the Mechaber, when he brings down this Yesh mi she'omer, and he brings down the Shitas Haravid, he's not coming la'afuke, the beginning of the Sif Cotton, that says that you could use snow, sleet, hail, etc. Dahani hevi b'klal mayim, because those are all considered to be water. So when the Ravid says you need water, those are water. Ella, rather, the Ravid is coming la'afuke to take away, to exclude mei peiros belvad, fruit juices. That's what the Ravid is coming to exclude. He's saying you need water, but you cannot wash the Netillas Yadayim with orange juice. You can't wash the Netillas Yadayim with apple juice. Those are not considered mayim. De'einam chashuvim mayim. The cholshkein, and certainly yayin deloi. Certainly the Ravid would say that you cannot wash the Netillas Yadayim with yayin. You see, it's easier to call fruit juice mayim than it is to call yayin mayim. Yayin is choshev. As the Mechaber is about to mention very shortly, yayin is so choshev that it gets its own bracha, bari priagafen. So certainly we would not call yayin mayim, right? So if the Ravid says that you need mayim, he's coming to exclude all fruit juices. Fruit juices, the Ravid says, are not considered mayim. Certainly wine you can't use, because that is also not mayim. Va'atam, and the Chavetz Chaim says the reasoning for the Shitas Haravid is the Netillas Yadayim samchu al kra, because the Chazal based their takana of Netillas Yadayim lepas on a pasuk. The v'yadav lo shotaf b'mayim. The pasuk tells us if somebody was tamei meis and he went in and he touched something, v'yadav lo shotaf b'mayim, Literally, it means, and he didn't wash his hands with water. Now, over there, it doesn't mean he only didn't wash his hands. It means he wasn't toivel his entire body. He didn't go to the mikveh to become tar. But in any case, we have a pasuk that mentions the washing of the hands by somebody who's tamei. V'yadav lo shataf b'mayim. That pasuk acts as a precedent for the concept of the Netillas Yadayim. V'lachein, and therefore, since the Netillas Yadayim is based loosely on a pasuk that says v'yadav lo shataf b'mayim, v'lachein tzarich mayim dafka. Therefore, the Beis Yosef says the Ravid holds that you need dafka mayim, not orange juice, not apple juice, not Cabernet. You need water for the Netillas Yadayim. Okay, so that's we're going to see three different shittas over here. So this we have to keep track. This is shitta number one. Shitta number one is the shittas Ravid. It's the most chamordika opinion, and that is for the Netillas Yadayim, you need strictly mayim. Not fruit juice, not yayin, not anything else. You need mayim. Now we go to the second opinion. This is the Shittas Rashba. Bottom line in the Mechaber. And then we have a Shittas Rashba that says, Shahayayin kosher Netillas Yadayim. That even wine, certainly orange juice or apple juice, even wine that has its own bracha, bari priagafen, so you would think, how could you call it mayim? Even wine is usable for the Netillas Yadayim. Certainly orange juice, certainly apple juice. And, says the Mechaber, this is true, bein nasa l'seiche mayim, whether you diluted the wine with water, bein loy nasa l'seiche mayim, whether you did not dilute the wine with water. Either way, the Rashba says you're allowed to use fruit juice, you're allowed to use yayin. The Shittas Rashba has an important caveat. Continues the Mechaber here on the Dalan base. Elo she'asar lasis kain, but the Mechaber says it's asar lechatchila to use wine for the Netillas Yadayim. Elo she'asar lasis kain lechatchila. Why? Kedei shelo yehei kimizalzel b'davar chashuv shenishtana le'ilui. We don't want to take wine, which is something that's so chashuv. It was nishtana le'ilui. It was changed and it was improved. Pirush, says the Rama, l'shevach. It was changed and it was improved ad shekevei bracha la'atzmai, to the extent that it's got its own bracha of bari priagafen. So what's the Shittas Rashba? So the Shittas Rashba is not like the Ravid. The Ravid says you need mayim dafka. You can't use fruit juice, it's not mayim. You can't use yayin. Yayin is certainly not mayim. Comes along the Rashba, and the Rashba says, no, you don't need mayim. You could certainly use fruit juices, but not only could you use fruit juices, you could even use yayin, but with a caveat. Lechatchila, you should not use yayin. Why? Because yayin is such a davar chashuv. Yayin is something that was nishtana le'ilui. It's something that was improved, and it was improved to the extent where it gets its own bracha of bari priagafen. Such a thing, you shouldn't be mezalzel. You shouldn't treat it, in a nonchalant fashion. You shouldn't be mevaze it and go use it for the Netillas Yadayim. So lechatchila, you shouldn't use it. That's the Shittas Rashba. Now, says the Ramah, second line down, there are those that say that when the Rashba says that you could use yayin, dafki yayin lovan, that only means white wine. Aval adaim, but red wine, loy. Red wine, the Rashba would not be matir. Okay, let's take a look here at the Mishnah Berurah. Says the Mishnah Berurah back on Dalet Amud Aleph, Ois Kat Samach. V'yeshomrim, we have a Shittas Rashba shayayin kosher, that yayin is kosher for the Netillas Yadayim. Says the Chavetz Chaim, when I spoke out, v'cholshkein sharmei peros u'sha'arei mashkin. If the Rashba says that wine, which has a bari priagafen, is kosher for the Netillas Yadayim, then certainly orange juice, apple juice, beer, coffee, tea, certainly those things are kosher for Netillas Yadayim. Now, you might ponder, Well, let's go further with the Mishnah Berurah first. The Cholshked Sharbe Paris Shari Mashkin. Why? What's the Shitas Rashba based on? The Svira Lahu, because the Rashba holds the Lo Yitzrichu Dafka Mayim Linatila. We don't Badafka need Mayim for the Netillas Yadayim. He doesn't hold like the Raven. The Raven says, the Pasuk says, V'yadav lo shataf b'mayim, mentions Mayim. Says the Rashba, no, he doesn't go with that. You don't need Dafka Mayim. Now, you might wonder, maybe there's another reason why you can't use orange juice for the Netillas Yadayim. We know that there's a concept of bizui oichlin. You're not allowed to be mavaza food, right? You can't throw bread without mavaza food. Incidentally, when we talk about being mavaza food, there are sometimes that people play games with food, like Bob the Apple. To me, it's bizui oichlin. So there's a concept of bizui oichlin. So maybe you shouldn't be able to wash the Netillas Yadayim with orange juice because of bizui oichlin. Says the Mishnah Berurah, that's not a factor. When we show bizui oichlin ein bazeh, this would not constitute bizui oichlin. Why? Kevich etzarich lazeh, because you're performing unnecessary task with the food. And not only that, kevich etzarich lazeh ve'enoi b'derech ibud. It's not a derech ibud. Derech ibud means a way of destroying the food. It's not like I'm trying to imagine, like let's say you have a spill and you want to sponge up a spill with a slice of white bread. That's derech ibud. You're destroying the slice of bread. But to wash the Netillas Yadayim with orange juice, you're not destroying the orange juice. So it's not such a bizayon. And also, you're performing a necessary task. Okay, so far, the Shitas Rashba is, you don't need Dafka Mayim for the Netillas Yadayim. And therefore, you could wash the Netillas Yadayim with mei peiros, fruit juices. You could wash the Netillas Yadayim with other mashkin. And you could even wash the Netillas Yadayim with wine. But then the Rashba said, but lechatchila, you should not use wine. Says the Mishnah Berurah cut Savach Aleph, Elisha Aser, it's also lechatchila to use wine. And says the Mishnah Berurah, Hainu bein nasan l'seicha mayim bein loy nasan. Whether you diluted the wine or not, lechatchila it's also to use wine. To bekula mikri yayin chashuv, because whether it was yayin mazug, whether you diluted it or you didn't dilute it, it's still called yayin chashuv. V'kaveh bracha la'atzma kin lekaman b'siman reish ayin beis hey, and it gets its own bracha of bar priagafen, and therefore it's chashuv. So lechatchila you shouldn't be mavazit. It gets a bracha for itself, but other drinks and fruit juices, they weren't improved to the extent where they get a special bracha. According to the Shitas Rashba, you could use other fruit juices, even lechatchila. Then the Ramah said that there are those that say that the heter of the Rashba is only on white wine, but not on red wine. Why? Because red wine is already shinoi mara. It's red. But the first opinion, who says that you could even use red wine, according to the Shitas Rashba, Svira Lahu, they hold, that doesn't constitute a shinoi mara, because that's the natural state of red wine. If you had white wine, and then you added red 40 to make it red, the Chavetz Chaim says that was the derech in their times. Everybody would agree that that's possible because of Shinui Mara. Okay, let's pause here for a second. So right now, again, we have two opinions. We have the Shitas Arayvid. The Shitas Arayvid is, the pasuk says v'yadav leishataf b'mayim. It mentions mayim specifically by washing hands. That gives us a precedent that you must have mayim. According to the Ravid, you can't use fruit juices. You certainly can't use wine. You have to use water. Then we have the Shitas Rashba. The Shitas Rashba is no, you don't need mayim. You could use any liquid. You don't need mayim. Now, when I say any liquid, of course there are things that render liquids puzzle. It can't be a liquid shenasa behen malacha. It can't have shino and bare. It can't be mayim sruchim. They're all psulim. But you don't need water dafka. It could be any liquid. It could be orange juice, apple juice, wine. Lichatchila, you should not use wine. Why? Because wine is so chashuv, it gets its own bracha. You shouldn't be mezalzel in wine. And we have the Ramah who brings down one opinion that says that when the Rashba was mater wine, it's only white wine, not red wine. Now we go to the third opinion, which the Mishnah Berurah is going to tell us that we paskin like the third opinion. So here's the third opinion, 3 lines down. V'yesh bi sha'omer, and this is Shitas Rashi. V'yesh bi sha'omer, there is one who says, Rashi says, Shekol mei peiros ru'uyim l'Netillas Yadayim, that all mei peiros, orange juice, apple juice, raspberry syrup, all fruit juices are kosher for Netillas Yadayim, but not wine. Wine is not regular mei peiros. Wine is chashuv. So Rashi is mater all mei peiros, but he asers wine, and even mei peiros, he's only mater b'shas adchak. Only b'shas adchak. B'shas adchak, you could use mei peiros, but if it's not shas adchak, you shouldn't even use mei peiros. Says the Ramah, v'choshkei demutar lital yadayim b'shas adchak. Certainly b'shas adchak, you could use sheichar, beer, oimei dvash amavushalin, or honey mead, di'ikron mayim. Because the truth is, what's beer? Beer is ultimately water. It's water that has picked up flavoring from fermented barley and hops and everything else, but it's not mei peiros. Beer is not barley juice. Date beer is not date juice. It's water that you had fermentation and alcohol, but it's ultimately water. It's flavored water ultimately. So now we have the Shitas Rashi. So Shitas Rashi is that mei peiros you could use. Now, remember, the Ravid said only mayim. The Rashba said you could use mei peiros even lechatchila. The last sheet, the Shitas Rashi, agrees with the second opinion that you could use mei peiros, but only b'shas adchak, not lechatchila. And how about wine? So when it comes to wine, Rashi is agreeing. When it comes to wine, Rashi is agreeing with the Shitas HaRavid. The Ravid said only mayim, no mei peiros, no wine. The second opinion, the Shitas HaRashba, said you could use wine, but not lechatchila. Rashi says no wine, not even b'shas adchak. You could use mei peiros b'shas adchak, but no wine. So the Mishnah Berurah is going to say that we should paskin like Rashi. Why? Because Rashi is an aggregate of the Rashba and the Ravid. On the one hand, he's taking a piece of the Ravid, the most chamerdik opinion, and he's saying that wine is completely aser. You can't use wine even b'shas adchak. So he's taking a piece of the Ravid, but he's also taking a piece of the Rashba. The Rashba was matir mei peiros. Now, the Rashba was matir mei peiros even lechatchila. Rashi is being matir mei peiros only b'shas adchak. But he's taking a piece of the Ravid, a piece of the Rashba. He's adding a piece of his own, that even mei peiros is only mutar b'shas adchak. But the Mishnah Berurah is going to say we should stick with Shitas Rashi. Says the Mishnah Berurah. Ois cut and samach talib. V'yesh bin sha'omer, we have Shitas Rashi, shekol mei peiros, that all mei peiros could be used b'shas adchak for the Netillas Yadayim. Says the Chavetz Chaim, he deya shlishas. This is now a third opinion. The mechalekes bein yayin l'mei peiros, who differentiates between mei peiros and yayin. To be yayin pasal medina, because yayin, he says, is completely pasal for the Netillas Yadayim. Af b'di'evet, even in a shas adchak, kedeya rishona, like the Shitas HaRavid, right? Shitas HaRavid, you need mayim dafka, so yayin is 100% pasal. Rashi is agreeing when it comes to wine. He's saying wine is 100% pasal. So he's saying he's agreeing with the Ravid, kedeya rishona, avo b'mei peiros, but when it comes to orange juice and apple juice, noitlin b'shas adchak. He's saying that you could use b'shas adchak, which is more like the Shittas Rashba. The Sfira Lei, because Rashi holds the Chol Mei Peres Karimayim, he holds that all fruit juices are called water. Chutz b'yayin, with the exception of yayin. Uladina halakha l'maisa yesh lahiris k'dei azu. We should paskin like Shittas Rashi lahachmir b'yayin, to rule stringently when it comes to wine. That wine is completely possible for the Netillas Yadayim, or lahakal b'mei peres, and to rule leniently when it comes to fruit juices, but only b'shas adchak. Oiskat samachei, the Ramah said kol shkein the mutter. Certainly you could wash the Netillas Yadayim with beer, with honey mead. When we should shinu mara lo nifsalu. Now you might ask me, but what do you mean shinu mara? These things are a different color. No, it says the Mishnah Berurah here an interesting chiddush. He says beer, even if it's dark beer, we're not going to worry that that's a shinui mara. Why? The svirale, because Rashi holds tehecha de ishtani leiloi, when a beverage is improved, loy chashiv shinui. Yes, it's true. By turning it into beer, you changed the color of the liquid. But since you improved it, you can't say that that's a shinui mara that's going to go passel for Netillas Yadayim. V'ayin b'bir agrad the mashput leis sfir leis farazu. Chaim says that from the grad it sounds not that way. All right, I'm going to have to stop over here just because my voice is not holding out. Please, I ask you to bear with me. Baruch Hashem, we're getting to share in on a daily basis, but I know that we've lost ground here. We're going to try to pick up ground. Please bear with me. Thank you so much for joining me for limud HaTorah. Because of limud HaTorah should be making against Klal Yisrael. The Rosh should send Yeshua's first parnassus should do him to all those in need. We should be zeicher to see the B'yes Gal Tzedek B'meherav Yameinu. Amen. Be well.